Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Estrela virtual visit series. I'm Allison Campbell with Estrela Consulting, and I'm so excited to welcome Ryan Mann from John Carroll University in University Circle, Ohio. Our virtual visit series has been designed to introduce you all to a variety of colleges and just allow you to get to know the institutions and their staff in a more personal way. So thank you, Ryan, for taking the time to join us. I'd love for you just to tell us a little bit about yourself, Ryan, and how long have you worked at John Carroll?
Yeah, well, first, definitely thank you for giving me the opportunity to jump on here. Super exciting to just always share what John Carroll has to offer. I think we do a lot of really cool things, and it's awesome part of my job just to get to be able to connect with so many students and counselors and stakeholders alike. So my name's Ryan Mann. I'm a senior assistant director of admission at John Carroll University. I'm a Carroll grad, class of 2022. So I've been with the university professionally going on just over 2 years now. So this will be my third admission cycle, which is hard to believe. It's been two already, but I'm excited for number three. But then looking at it, big picture, I've been with John Carroll since I stepped foot on campus for the first time back in the fall of 2018 for my first year. So I've been with the university in a variety of roles in some way, shape, or form for about 6 years now, which again is just really hard to believe. So.
It's easy to be so passionate about a school that obviously attended and didn't want to leave. So again, it's just an easy segue into wanting others to come and experience the pride and joy that you've had as a part of the John Carroll community. So that's great. Can you just tell us a little bit about John Carroll for those of the people that are tuning in that may not know that much about it? Just a little bit about your location, your enrollment, the type of institution that John Carroll is would be really helpful.
Yeah, so kind of the quick high level overview of John Carroll. So we are a Jesuit Catholic institution. We were founded in 1886, originally on the west side of Cleveland, but our campus moved locations in the 1930s to the east side of Cleveland. So we sit in University Heights, Ohio, which is just about 9 miles east of downtown. It's kind of one of those inner ring suburbs just outside of city limits. We're up in the heights of the east side with Shaker Heights and Cleveland Heights as our neighbors. So very densely populated inner ring suburb, an awesome community that our students get to be a part of. We have about 3,000 students at John Carroll. The majority of our students and the focus of the university is undergraduate. We do offer some various graduate programs, but the crux of the university is undergraduate focus, and that's what most of our student body is made up of undergraduate students. And we are a residential campus as well. So the vast majority of our students do reside on campus or just off campus on some of our upperclassmen off-campus housing that the university owns.
Okay. And I apologize. You said University Heights, and I know University Heights. I'm honestly thinking of the Circle right
Oh,
outside of
yeah, the
campus.
Fairmount
That's why
Circle.
I was
Yeah.
thinking Circle.
Oh, no worries.
Um,
I didn't even catch that earlier.
okay. I was like, oh, I knew that. Why did I say University Circle? I'm thinking of there's a big like traffic circle right outside of campus, and my brother actually went to school at John Carroll as well, so I'm very familiar with where that is. So as you said, like you're on the road recruiting right now and you're looking for potential students and applicants to John Carroll. What type of student are you looking for? What's like the quintessential John Carroll student look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think it's tough because I think John Carroll students come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. I wouldn't say there's one straight, this template. Oh, we know exactly they're going to fit in well. I think what we strive to look for and the students that succeed at John Carroll are those that, I think bring something to our campus. We really want to find students that, have a passion for something. I think when you step foot on our campus, you're going to come across students with a lot of different passions and interests. And I think the thing that ties them all together is just the level of intensity, so to speak, that they have for these things. Like John Carroll students are really much doers. And
Mhm.
I think those are the students that tend to be attracted to us. So whether that's, the business focused students, someone in the sciences, healthcare, humanities, any of the different disciplines that are out there or interests that a student can have, if they just have a real like kind of spark and desire within themselves to really chase something, those tend to be students that succeed. And that's what we look for. We look for students that will make an impact on our campus in some way, shape, or form. And like I said, there's a lot of different ways that we see that play out when we start to interact with the student during their time in high school and kind of through that application and review process.
And I'm sure, like you said, there's some sort of academic spark, or maybe it's social in the way, like giving back to the university, or service oriented, or just
Mm.
like social and like wanting to get out of your dorm and do stuff. So like you mentioned, John Carroll is a residential campus, and I can tell, like, just in my limited times that I've visited John Carroll, whether to meet with you or for programming, like there is definitely a buzz about John Carroll. Like there's always something going on, whether it's athletics or some sort of like tradition. It's, and I think the neighborhood has a
Mhm.
buzz to it as well. It's very
Yeah.
busy, still like suburban and like safe and kind of like encapsulated, but there's
Mhm.
so much to do on the east
Yeah.
side of Cleveland. So
Mhm.
I agree. I feel like John Carroll students are definitely doers of things, whatever that might
Yeah.
be for them.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, we had, like we had visited John Carroll a few months ago, and there was a lot going on. I mean, new buildings, new programs. Could you tell us about some of like these massive updates that John Carroll is experiencing?
Yeah, so this has been going on. We're kind of moving in towards like the final phase of our Building Inspired Futures campaign that our president Al Mikiak launched at the beginning of his tenure back in 2021. So some of those big projects that you're going to just tangibly see on campus when you step foot is first and foremost the Athletic Wellness and Event Center. Some people are calling it the Awe Center for the AWE. I don't know what I've landed on yet, quite yet for me personally, what's easy to refer to, but this is a large project that has so many different components to it. I'll try to be as brief as I can. Essentially, it is a large field house that's going to be connected to some of our existing recreation facilities. So it's going to include a 200-meter indoor track, both for recreational use as well as for competitive use by our women's and men's track and field teams. There's also going to be some multi-purpose surface in the infield of the track to be used for intramural club sports, things like that, as well as hosting community events, whether that be high schools or youth leagues or anything like that. So it's really going to be also not just John Carroll students, but a community space. In addition to that, we are building a new training room for our varsity athletic students as part of this project. We've got some new lab spaces that are going to be going in here as well. These are going to be used by our exercise science as well as our masters in exercise science students as well. So some really cool lab spaces to get some hands-on learning over there. We have a brand new wrestling room that's being constructed. So last year, John Carroll added our newest varsity sport, which was women's wrestling. And so with the addition of this team joining the men's team, the space was needed to create a larger wrestling facility. And so this field house project is also including them. And then there's room to grow too. So the way that we set the foundation in some of the building for this new project, there's potential to add some new locker room spaces and things like that. So we're really excited about this first piece of adding to our existing recreation facilities. The other kind of larger project is a essentially complete renovation of our Griselli Library and Breen Learning Center. So we are phasing through this project. There's a pieces of it that have already completed and open for this school year. And this includes the Master and Tony Student Success Commons. So this houses our Academic Success Center as well as our Career Center, both very forward-facing student service offices. The Academic Success Center does a lot of like advising for our deciding student population. And then our Career Center does everything from resume workshops, LinkedIn, workshops, professional headshots for students. They work with a lot of our academic departments across campus to help connect students with internship, extern research opportunities. They build professional development programs with a lot of our academic programs. So that's a very, very active spot in the new library, these services.
Mhm.
And then really the library project just comes down to what does a campus library look like, in this day and age, in 2025 and beyond. Spoiler alert, you're not going to be going to a library to check out physical books as often as
Mhm.
maybe it was used to being back when it was built. And so just really revitalizing and creating more like common study spaces, expanding on the courtyard area, creating, just multi-purpose stage areas for different things such as like poetry readings or events and things. So just really revitalizing what the Library and Learning Center can look like with the understanding that, times change and our buildings need to kind of reflect what the students are using them for. So those are
Okay.
two of the larger ones. Also included in the last year or so that's been wrapped up is a renovation of Schott Dining Hall, which is the largest dining hall on campus. Our student center got a complete facelift last year. We completely gutted and renovated two residence halls on campus, Dolan and Pacelli Hall. The two residence halls that were lacking air conditioning have both had air conditioning installed last summer. So Campion and Hamlin. So every single residence hall on campus has AC. And then off that big circle that you were talking about earlier, Fairmount Circle off the front gate of campus, all of those apartment buildings around the front of campus are John Carroll property, and we are going through and renovating them for upperclassmen. So we've done two buildings so far this past summer, kind of completely renovating those, making them more a little bit more modern, fresh, and updated for the juniors and seniors that are living in there. So yeah, like I said, kind of a lot going on. It's a lot,
Yes.
but it's exciting too, just to kind of see all of this play out. Oh, the one thing that I forgot to mention, which is should be wrapping up here in the next week or two, is we turfed our baseball and softball stadiums. So we
Cool.
completely ripped out all the grass and dirt there, completely turf, going to make it a lot easier for those teams to compete in some of those, days where we don't get super dry weather when it's a little bit more rainy in Northeast Ohio. So um,
Yeah.
that update as well. So, like I said, a lot, but all very exciting.
Yes, I have one more thing to come back to about
Yeah.
like new programs and new buildings, but I know we're both former Division III athletes, and I know that John Carroll is, I think if they have not completed it or they're planning on making a switch to a different conference.
Mhm.
So I don't know, is that complete or are they still a part of the Ohio Athletic Conference?
Yeah, good question. So the 24-25 school year will be our last year in the Ohio Athletic Conference. So we've been in the OAC for the last 30 years, enjoyed a really, really awesome couple of decades. In this conference, competing against some of our fellow schools in the state of Ohio. But starting in the fall of 2025, we will have moved to the North Coast Athletic Conference, which is made up of schools in both Ohio as well as a few from the state of Indiana.
Okay, thanks for the update. So one of the programs specifically I wanted to talk about, and I know we have talked in at length about this one, is nursing. So,
Mhm.
Cleveland being such a hub of just, world-class healthcare, it seemed, kind of crazy that more of our local schools don't offer nursing pipelines. And I know
Mhm.
that John Carroll has taken that and run in recent years, and that I
Yeah.
believe, I think September you had mentioned was going to be their final pass for accreditation. So can you tell us a little bit about the nursing program and, I guess hopefully that has taken place if it's not going to happen soon.
Yeah, so the nursing program, so we now have three nursing classes on campus. The first class, they're currently juniors. What I think is cool about them is they came to John Carroll before we were even allowed to talk about having a nursing program, just with the process that exists in higher education of getting things approved and all of those sorts of things. We weren't able to promote. Basically, we had this group of students that came to John Carroll on the promise that, hey, like, we should hopefully have this for you when you start your sophomore year to be the first class to graduate. We're still on track for accreditation. We have to wait for that first group to go through and graduate before
Okay.
we can get the final sign off and approval, but we're on track for accreditation. We have a strong sophomore class of a little over 20 students, and then really excited about how large this class that just joined us this fall, nearly 50 students in the nursing program as freshmen this year. So the
That's
program
great.
has grown incrementally each of the 3 years that it's or 2 years that it's been in existence. You mentioned, I think one of the bigger differentiating factors for us is our location just outside of Cleveland. The opportunities for, really just to have a job when you graduate is nearly guaranteed. The demand for nurses is so high. You've got one of the largest healthcare systems in the entire world in the Cleveland Clinic. Their main campus is just down the street from us. Our nursing students are doing clinical rotations at the clinic, university hospitals, and Metro Health. So you're getting a diverse set of experiences, which I think is really cool. And then the other cool thing is all of our nursing faculty have to continue to practice. So you will always have somebody instructing you in the classroom in those lab settings that is also still out there treating patients and bringing in some, what is going on in this world right now, rather than a nursing faculty who has maybe been in a classroom for 20 plus years. So some really cool things with the nursing program. I'm excited to see that program continue to grow and just see some John Carroll grads really start to make a difference in such an important field.
Definitely. And I think, when you have, faculty that are 100% dedicated to being in the classroom, I mean, that's great to have that, but the real world experience that sometimes the professors, if whether they're full-time or adjunct that have when they are in the field and seeing things day to day and making that applicable to what they're teaching in the classroom is key. I mean, I feel like when I was going through undergrad, some of my adjunct professors were the best ones because they were the
Yeah.
ones in the boardroom, on the floor, working the events, so just having that like day to day touch point of like
Yeah.
and pulse of what's really going on is so important. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I know that John Carroll is very well known for their business school, um, and also they're tied to the NFL. But what do you feel like is a major at John Carroll that's kind of flying under the radar?
Ooh, that's a really good question. It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick just one, and I think it would come down to who you're talking to because I think to some people they're very much aware of some of like those gold star programs that we have at John Carroll, such as our accounting program, which really pound for pound, you can put up with any accounting program, not just in the state of Ohio, but really nationally. We have a top 25 passage rate on the CPA exam for our accounting students. A John Carroll accounting student is going to be getting recruited by PwC, EY, Deloitte, all of those big firms. I mean, truthfully, the fall of their sophomore year, they're going to be being asked to come intern with these companies. That may be something that's under the radar for some people. You certainly hit on our NFL connections, and that, definitely brings up our sports leadership major at John Carroll. Having, nearly 40 plus John Carroll alums slash recent John Carroll staff members that are working across the 32 NFL franchises, I think is incredibly unique. And it offers a pipeline and a professional network to a student as early as their freshman year when they step foot on campus. They now are starting to have something in common and have a network that they can tap into, some mentors that they can seek out that are working at some of the highest levels in professional sport across the country. I'm trying to think of. I think maybe to go back to your original question of what is something that is flying under the radar. I think we have some really cool English opportunity for students looking to study something in the humanities, specifically our creative writing major at John Carroll. We have some awesome faculty that really foster a collection of talent in these students that sometimes starts as early as when they're in high school. We have an awesome summer program at John Carroll called the Young Writers Workshop, hosted
Okay.
by Dr. Phil Metris, where students are on campus for a week at a summer camp, really tapping into some creative writing techniques with Dr. Metris and some other staff on campus. And so I think those students are just incredibly talented. And I think English is one of those majors that catches some unnecessary flack from like the anti-college people, certainly the humanities as a group, but I think English is always like the butt of a lot of jokes of, oh, you're majoring in English. Our humanities majors at John Carroll, and these professors are very proud of the outcomes that exist for their students. Students that study the humanities have such a broad range of careers that have some pretty high paying salaries. A lot of our studies show that humanities students tend to be some of the higher paid graduates from JCU. And they're representing such a diverse set of careers. And I think it's really cool and unique. And the English program, specifically the creative writing concentration we offer, I think would be one of those almost under the radar type of majors. So
Yeah, and I think the preparedness for maybe like a law school to be able
yeah.
to write efficiently and effectively and creatively, that would
Mhm.
be a skill that I think is probably not considered, when someone's thinking of like political science or global policy or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was a great one. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah.
So again, I'm very familiar with liberal arts colleges, especially in the Cleveland area, but typically having the smaller class size and the student faculty ratio that's a little bit smaller. Do you find that aside from just like that personal touch, that students that might require special services are able to get something like that at John Carroll if they need accommodations, like they need things slowed down. Do you guys accommodate students like that?
Yeah, so we have a Student Accessibility Services office. They go by SAS for short on campus. They are really great. They will work with a student before they even decide on coming to John Carroll. So we want to make sure that we take time for them as a prospective student to meet with our SAS office. And really the first step is getting to know them and seeing, okay, what are your current accommodations in high school? So then we can take a look and see, are we able to provide this or something similar or even more here at John Carroll in order for you to have a comfortable transition? Regardless of who you are, how smart you are, or how smart you maybe think you are, how well prepared you are, everybody struggles with the transition to college. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody does in some way, shape, or form. And so we always want to make sure that, especially for our students that are seeking those accommodations, we want to make sure that we can support them first before having them get to campus. And so they do a lot of work with our prospective students. And then that same thing kind of really gets amplified when they're here with us on campus. So, alternate testing locations, extended testing time, if there's any, audio that we can do to help with the student auditory assistance. We do, students are able to apply for, like therapy animals for their residence hall. So there's a wide range of accommodations that we offer for students, both in the academic world and then in their residential world on campus as well. And like I said, it really starts before they step foot on campus as a student.
I love that. I mean, I think John Carroll being, a little bit more prestigious, for some students, they might feel, that it might not be a good fit or they're not going to be able to keep up with the pace. But in order to just go and be transparent and say, like, these are my accommodations, do you think
Mhm.
that I would be a good fit here? That's going to save a student a lot of stress and just maybe boost their confidence as
Yeah.
well, to not go there and just be set up for failure. So I appreciate that there's that transparent policy that someone can come and meet with your SAS team before they even apply or decide to come to John Carroll. All right, let's round it out with maybe a few fun questions. So let's talk about school spirit. Like, what would you say is the vibe? Like, do students get really hyped up for athletics? Do you have Greek life? Do you have like a lot of fun traditions on campus?
Yeah, again, a big mixed bag here. I think there's a lot of things that get students excited. Um, and certainly some of those traditions that I think a lot of college campuses all have kind of some traditions and some really cool ones that were some of my favorite as a student and that I still see today at JCU, include calf's giving. So the Thursday before every Thanksgiving, our entire dining hall is basically turned into like a campus-wide Thanksgiving feast. And I think one of the coolest parts is it's staff and faculty that are actually serving the students their food onto their plates. And so that's always one of my favorite traditions every year, was going to the dining hall with some friends and just having like one last kind of Thanksgiving meal together before everyone kind of goes home for a couple days for Thanksgiving break. Um, certainly some of the athletic events will garner some large student attendance. I think specifically men's and women's basketball games, we have a student section that sits right under a hoop, kind of behind the baseline in the arena. And students love to pack that and cheer on the Blue Streaks. Homecoming every year is always an awesome time. Every home football game, we shut down one of the streets that runs through campus and have like this big block party tailgate. And homecoming, of course, is always cool because, a lot of alumni are back in town. The stadium is usually pretty packed. So that's always a really, really fun tradition too, is to kind of see all of our alumni back on campus and go to a football game together. Christmas at Carroll Eve is a really cool tradition. So similar to Calf's Giving, this is kind of like one of those last events before a long break, which is winter break. So in college, winter break being a month long, it's one of the last times you're going to see some of your friends before you head home or what you may do for that break. And so Christmas at Carroll Eve, we have a procession across the street to Jesu Parish. And so that's always a really fun tradition. And then weekly Sunday night mass in St. Francis. 9 o'clock every Sunday night. it gets jam packed in there. If you don't get there a little bit early, there's chances you have to stand in the back because you may not have a seat. And so I think it's always really, really cool to see the campus community come together for Sunday night mass. I mean, there's so many that I could go on with. So I'll stop with some of my favorites there. But I think what's really cool is if you ask 10 John Carroll students or 10 John Carroll alums that same question, you'll get maybe a couple of the same answers, but you'll get a variety too. You'll hear something different from everybody, which I think is really unique and kind of speaks to, the connected but different experiences that everybody has and enjoys.
That's great. Okay, just kind of offshooting about what you said about Mass. Obviously, like John Carroll's a Jesuit university. Do you have to be Catholic or Jesuit to be at John Carroll?
Good question. No, so you do not have to be a Catholic or of the Catholic faith. You do not have to be of any faith to be a student at John Carroll. Like you mentioned, the university is a Catholic institution, specifically falls under the Jesuit affiliation in the Roman Catholic Church. But we have students of all different faiths on campus. We do a ton of interfaith work at John Carroll. We are we enjoy kind of being a leader on that front. We have a TUI interfaith department. We've got interfaith dialogue circles. We have an interfaith prayer room on campus. We do interfaith panels. We were one of the first Catholic colleges in Ohio to actually have an academic chair in all three Abrahamic religions of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. So a lot of faiths represented on campus. We do a lot, like I said, of interfaith work and understanding. And, the goal of John Carroll's campus ministry department is for, students to grow stronger in their faith and their spirituality, whatever that is. So, we certainly have all of the bells and whistles that the most devout Roman Catholic in the world could ever want. But you will not feel out of place not being a Catholic student at John Carroll.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew that. I mean, I feel like you guys do a great job of, really upholding like Catholic traditions and, the sense of your mission, but also making everybody feel welcome and accepted no matter what faith they or lack of faith that they subscribe to. So it
Mm.
was a great answer. But thank you so much. I know that you're on the road right now and you're joining us from a hotel. So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us all about John Carroll. And we will definitely be directing any of our Estrela students to you that might have any additional questions. So thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it and have a great rest of your travel season.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allison. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks again. Bye-bye.